about some of these historical connections between Hawaii and Micronesia. And then have some of you speak later. But I wanted to especially introduce Reverend Mitian Neth. Mitian Neth is the president of the Micronesian Council of the United Church of Christ. So he flew over from Pohnpei especially to join us at this meeting. He thought it was going to be a historical thing, so I hope you help make it a historical one. Yeah. So we'll have him speak a little bit more. But also we wanted to make sure we acknowledge Reverend Rennie Mao, who's not only our IT man, but his vast knowledge of the Pacific has done maybe more than anyone in the church to expose us to Micronesia and what's going on there. We really thank Rennie. He's the moderator of the Hawaii PAAM, and so he has been doing so much to educate people.
He's been doing that for many years, Ron.
Yeah.
He's from
Come.
I'm glad we have some Micronesian faces in the house because that's what you need to see, right? That Micronesians are not strangers to us in Hawaii. So anyway, we'll start. I'll try and do I'm not an IT person, but I'll try and do this PowerPoint fairly quickly. What do I do? Okay, I'm starting with Reverend John Davis Paris. And those of you know, he was the founder of the Ka'uaha'au Church in south, the most southernmost point in Hawaii. He came in 1841, and he was assigned to the last place that missionaries were assigned to. And if you know Ka'u, even today we think of it as kind of out there, right? So it was a very difficult pastor. I mean, the only other white person that was nearby was a French priest, and they didn't get along. So, he served out there in Waiohinu. His wife, Mary, died in 1847. He came 41, 47, had 2 young girls, and I think if you read his book, it's a very small book that his daughter put together of his writings. I think you'll be very excited by it, but it seems that he was very discouraged, was going back to the East Coast for good on the ship Montreal. And there were, sail ships, right? So at the tip of South America, you get into the doldrums, and sometimes the wind doesn't come for 2 weeks. And that's what happened. For 2 weeks, they were stuck in the doldrums at the tip of South America. And the first mate on that ship had been on whaling vessels to Micronesia. And he told John D. Paris and another pastor leaving from Molokai that in Micronesia they were open for the gospel to come and teach them. They both felt there was a calling from God. John D. Paris wrote a proposal to the Prudential Committee, and when they went to Boston, he presented that proposal. It was accepted with open arms. The thing that was unique is he said, we're going to include Native Hawaiian missionaries in it. 29 years the church has been in Hawaii. The mark of a mature church is to send out missionaries. So he included the Native Hawaiian missionaries in that proposal. It was accepted. John D. Paris married a fellow seminarian at Bangor Theological Seminary, returned to Hawaii, and built 9 other churches in Hawaii. Many of our small Hawaiian churches have been built by John D. Paris. And he's buried at Lanakila Church today in a grave. And he is the great-grandfather of Billy Paris, who passed away 4 years ago, was a longtime kupuna at Lanakila Church, finally ended up as the pastor there. So Billy first told us this story, and so now we caught up with some of this history. So that's why 14 Hawaiian missionary couples volunteered to become missionaries. 2 couples were chosen from the 14. One couple came from Kaumakapili Church. He was a deacon, Barita Kai Kaula. Yeah, he was a deacon here. Opunui, Daniel Opunui came from Lahaina Luna. The 2 of them were chosen out of the 14, and we're here 167 years ago this month in this church. They were initiated, as missionaries. I don't even have all of that history there. So the last Sunday in June 1852, there's a special worship service here at Kaumakapili Church, and thousands of people came, and out of the 14 who volunteered, these 2 were dedicated and consecrated. Then they commissioned, together with the 3 white missionary couples and the 2 Native Hawaiians, to be the mission church of Micronesia, okay? And then they were sent out. And so that, Rennie is gonna keep this on PowerPoint so we can share it with all of you, but we want some of that history to be shared. Now this is a map from, if you want to really learn about the Native Hawaiian missionaries abroad, go and see the doctoral thesis of Nancy Morris, who also came up with a new book, Nakahu, right? But her thesis is not yet published, but it really goes into all of the Native Hawaiian missionaries who went out abroad. And so this is a map that she put on from Hawaii. They went out not only to Micronesia, but to the Marquesas and even to North America, right? Now I wanted to show you the chart of the missionaries that in the first 50 years or so. And so all the darkened ones are the Native Hawaiian missionaries, and there should be 60 on there. Now, if you figure out our family connection, that must be connected to every Hawaiian there. But anyway, we have 60 on this. I haven't included those that went to Marquesas. If you include with the Marquesas, there'd be 79 Native Hawaiian missionaries that went abroad, and went especially to first to Kosrae and Ponape, later on to Marshall Islands, and then to the Kiribati, and we need to get this back on the record so we begin to see the names of the people who are there. But we're gonna be sharing that with you. Well, this is her map. The first Caroline, the ship Caroline that took the 5 missionary couples first, went to Kiribati, and then instead of going to the Marshalls, went to Kasrai and to Pohnpei, right? And why did they not go to the Marshalls? I think the reason because the king of the southern part of the Marshalls was Kaibuke. He was considered a fierce warrior, and so the whalers who were coming looking for women, he said, kill them, So they were his reputation of don't go to the Marshalls because Kaibuki says to kill people looking for the women. And so they went to Kosrae and Pohnpei first, right? And then it shows you how the ship from Hawaii went in 1852, first to Kiribati and then to Kosrae and to Pohnpei. This is the list of missionaries. It got elongated, but these are the ones that went to Kiribati. They called it the Gilbert Islands before, but it shows you most of these places are atolls, very low lining. So, who gets sent out? The Hawaiians, right? Very hard to live on the low lining atolls, but missionaries were. These are the missionaries that went to the Marshalls. It might be a little hard to see, but the lowest point is Ebon, where they went first, and I was able to go to the 150th anniversary of the gospel going to Ebon, and it was very exciting. We went with the two grandsons of Hezekiah Aya, the most successful Hawaiian missionary that went to the Marshalls, and they went. One guy went by boat, you know, there was a ship that goes from Madrigal, and he wanted to go with all the youth, and there were so many people they couldn't sit down. They had to stand all the way from Madrigal down to Ebon, and he said, I wanted the feeling of my grandfather, how he first saw the atoll in Ebon when he went down there. So Hezekiah Aya was there from 1862 to 69, and then went up to Madrigal. His wife actually, you know, was the widow of Berita Kaikaula, who went to Pohnpei to Rongpichi. Berita died after 7 years, and so the wife was coming back to Hawaii. A younger Hezekiah Aya from Big Island, trained in the Boys and Girls School behind Haile, went to an older widow, asked her to marry him because of her 7 years experience in Pohnpei, and then went to the Marshalls and served there for 12 years. He came back for a while, was the chaplain of the parliament here in Hawaii for a few years, and then went back. So we looked for her grave, where she's buried somewhere in Madrigal with the grandson, but couldn't find them. But anyway, that's part of the history. I wanted to, I know some of you are part of the women's board, and I wanted to get some of the history, because the beginning of the Women's Board of Mission for the Pacific Islands started with the contact with Mrs. Snow. Lydia Vossi Buck Snow came back for a visit to Hawaii in 1871, and she appealed to the women to start a mission board to support them, especially looking for a teacher to go to OWA, right? And then her name down there is Annette Palmer. After 13 years, someone went and responded to the call. And so that's how the Women's Board of Mission started. So a lot of the people got involved in the early days, even the Titus Cone Fund and all of that, to help support this mission work in the Micronesia. Many of you know Chet Terpstra, Chet and Marjorie Terpstra. I know others can tell you more stories about them, but at least they were in Pohnpei and started the OWA mission school work, and they were there for 10 years from 1950 to 1960. And so it gives you some of that history. We're in touch with their son Mark, who's a PhD living in Oregon, but I didn't get a good photo that I could bring here, but I think many of you know Chet. And Chet came back, served at a number of different churches here in Hawaii, was called to be our conference minister from 68 to 1978. And when he became conference minister in 68, at the first AHA Pae'aina, he made the motion to have the board of directors set up a committee to support the mission work in Micronesia, and that became the Micronesian Committee. So we are part of this history that was started by Chet, and so we are proud that we're relearning some of this history to some key people in our conference who served not only our conference but helped that ties with Micronesia. I don't know if you know Takwali from a long time ago, but this is a picture taken by my dad when Takwa, Alice, and little Alice first went to Micronesia in 1958, and they served for 9 years in Micronesia. So this was when they were leaving, younger Takwali when I first met him.
Which island in Micronesia did you serve?
PAAM.
Pohnpei?
Here. Takwa Lee and Alice Lee, the three places they served in Micronesia, first in Pohnpei, at the Owa Mission School, next in Chuk, where Katsushi comes from, living on the island of Tonoas, at their mission school, and then finally went to the Marshalls in 1965 and taught at the Marshall Islands Christian High School in Rong Rong. Yeah? So when Takwa, he was the reason I got involved in Micronesia, but when he came back, he became part of that Micronesian committee, was a chairman of that committee for the long time. And it was his proposal to start this three-way conversation between the Hawaii Conference, the Micronesian Council of the United Church of Christ, and the national UCC global, which is now Global Ministry. So we thought it came from, UCC or the Marshall. No, it came from here, right? So we started this three-way conversation. So we were saying, oh, we gotta do what we started, right, and do it better.
Excuse me.
I don't know if it's not a good picture. This is Mother Eleanor Wilson. She's known as a skipper of the Morning Star, and we want to tell all of the stories of the Morning Star. Titus Cone from Hiley Church was the one who suggested our Sunday school children buy shares to buy the first boat, and that was the first Morning Star. And then there were, I think she was a skipper of the 6th Morning Star, and the only woman skipper. So she became famous of that and has a book written about her. And she is with Takwa's wife Alice at one of the Aha Pae'ainas on Kauai when they were back for a furlough. So I came from Takwa to see this. Now Mother Wilson, she came back from her missionary work in the Marshalls and became the pastor of the Ku'olau Huia Protestant Church in Anahola on Kauai. And she brought back two young Micronesian youth. One was Reverend, at that time, Mr. Enja Enos, and so he went to Kapa High School and graduated, living in the parsonage on the beach of Anahola with Mother Wilson.
Just passed away.
Kahuran,
Yes?
when you mentioned the Morning Star, I couldn't help but think about the Women's Board of Missions.
That's right.
The Reverend Edith Wolf, who helped revive that voyage and that ship to continue their mission.
Okay, we're gonna ask you to help contribute because we wanna write all of that stories.
Oh.
So we just putting together the beginning pieces of it. And so before the Micronesian Council was able to come and meet with us here in Hawaii, Reverend Enja passed away in Hilo, He graduated from Kapau School, went back to Marshalls. At the same time, Takwa and Alice moved from Chuk to the Marshalls, and they taught for 2 years as fellow teachers at the Rong Rong Mission School there. And so that's how we got connected to Enja. Enja's daughter still lives in Hilo, and that's where he passed away. And he came to our Micronesian committee meetings and really encouraged us and helped bridge that gap with Micronesia and us, and so we were so grateful for his guidance. You can see Reverend Mitty and Neth here. I don't have the pictures of here on Oahu, but when he came to Hilo, we met at Church of the Holy Cross, and so Mitty and Neth is giving his illustrious opening comments to us. Reverend Lawson Matauto, representing the JRD, replaced Reverend Enja in the delegation and came. So we thought a very historical meeting in Hilo, and so we're glad that President Mitinet is here with us again. He will share a little bit more later. And here a couple more pictures. We were hoping that the Reverend Kensi Conrad, who's the head of the Namonius Church, and Reverend Sally and Katsushi No, he came, and he is the General Secretary of the HCUCC, and of course you have Nixon there, on the left, and our tallest member, Ron Wells. And then when Kenzie was here, he took the opportunity to meet with some of the Chuukese pastors. So this is the Hilo meeting that he had. We were so glad, and they responded very well. I understand that he had 2 meetings here on Oahu. I don't have any photos from that, but that's where Reverend Saleh is the president of the Chuukese pastors here on Oahu, so that they had 2 meetings there. And we're hoping that that had also good dialogue and discussion together to bring us together as a united church. Maybe I should let Brian talk about it, but this is the bell that was dedicated at Haile Church. This is the second bell that Haile Church is giving to Pohnpei. The first one was from the Pueo Chapel in 1961, where they donated a bell to the Colonia Church. It's called the first church in Pohnpei, and Mitien can tell you all about it. It's built by the Japanese, very sturdy church. And so I'm sure Brian, we're gonna have Brian tell a little bit more.
How do you say the name of that church?
Kapindao.
Okay, here's the spelling.
Yeah. Kapindao.
This is the new bell getting ready to go now.
Is that the
Hello.
Telur?
Oh.
Telur.
That's Reverend Henry Wilson's church. So, okay.
So, okay, I promise to be short. So part of this connection story that we have, because you hear all these connections, you've heard about Titus Co. and you've all these things. And so back in 1961, our church was asked to donate a bell from one of our chapels, which had been down. Our church had built, I think, like 17 chapels, and I don't know how they afforded it, but they had a bell for each one. They got repurposed. The bell that we just sent to Pohnpei was actually created in 1867. And I don't know, it came from Kapiolani Chapel, which is much younger than that. So I don't know. This one got repurposed somewhere along the line too. You know, it was part of the connection with the Hawaiian churches. And so Henry Wilson comes to my office one day and says, "Kalu, I need some help." "Shoot, what do you need?" Henry Wilson is from this island. He is a pastor in Hilo. His granddaughters came for education. He stayed. And so he helps out with the local churches there. And so Henry had been back there during the time of Takwa Ali. And so I have great respect for him because he saved the life of Takwa Ali. When Takwa couldn't get a boat motor started, he decides to pour gasoline in his motor. Next pull, kabooey! And he's all on fire, arms, everything else. And Henry Wilson is there to get him into the water, get him put out, get him taken care of, and get him bandaged up and everything. And even to this day, a nice little neat story was when Takwa was starting to struggle with his memory later life, Henry came to him and they talked to him. "Do you remember him?" He says, "No." He says, "Look at your arms." And he goes, "Oh, I'm burned." He says, "You remember?" This man put them out. Oh, the light bulb came on, and there was lots of aloha that went on with that story. So when Henry comes to me, I'm just like, "What can we help you with?" He says, "Well, I need a bell." I'm like, "Well, why are you coming to me?" He says, "Your history says you give bells." I'm like, my history that I don't know my history. He shows me my history book. "You give bells." Colonia Church, Mother Church, Pohnpei. We had bell from Pueo Chapel. And I say, "Oh, well, now I feel embarrassed." He says, "Well, how can we help you now?" He says, "Another church, my home church, Kependadaler, needs a bell." They spent, I'm sorry I didn't bring the pictures of the church, but they worked in that church for 18 years, from groundbreaking to use, because every month they're taking little offering, $5, $10, a little more bricks, a little more wood, a little more stuff. 18 years it took them just to get to go. And Henry mandated, "You must spend the extra money and put in a bell tower." Everyone's like, no, we can't afford the bell tower. Let's just do it quick and do it the other way." He says, "No, you must have a bell tower. God will send us a bell at the right time." And so they built the church, beautiful church, real tall bell tower, and everyone's like, you know, it's like Henry's Folly, right? So he comes to my church, asks for a bell, and I said, "What you don't know, Henry, is that God has been here before you. God has been here before you. Because Auntie Havea Wa'au, who some of you old timers might remember, she's the granddaughter of Reverend Stephen Deshay Sr., And she lives in his old house on Kinooli Street.
She
That was
married
built,
my cousin,
her cousin.
Leopold.
That was built for Reverend Stephen DeShay by the Mothers Club at his retirement. So Mothers Club did everything, by the way. Mothers Club built every church in Hawaii. Mothers Club built all the stuff. That was the way it was. Mothers Club was the fundraising group. How many laulau it take? As much as it takes, right? You just go do what it takes. So Auntie Havea lived in Grandpa's house, which was near the site next door to Kapiolani Chapel, which went down in 1968. She comes to me 10 years ago, and says, "Kalu, I have something." "What's that?" He says, "Well, we don't have any room for it anymore, but we think it'd be better if the church holds it." "What's that?" "It's a bell." And she says, "When God says it's time for this bell to be used, he'll send someone for it." So that bell sat in our lobby for 10 years. Nobody asked for it. You guys could have asked any time and had it anytime you want. Because it was God would send us that. So when Henry comes to ask, I say, I know this is your bell. So I take him to the lobby and we ding it, and he starts having tears in his eyes. He's there right now with the bell because, you know, in God's story, everything works out wonderfully. So the number one thing we worry about is, what's it going to cost to ship a 400-pound bell to Pompeii, right? So we find out that this gentleman right here, Midianet's son, works with Matson here in Honolulu. The bell shipped free from Hilo to Honolulu to Pompeii. They have a cherry picker truck down there this week, and Henry's up there trying to figure a safe way to put it up to the bell tower. And they want me to come down there to be for the dedication, to be the full circle during the Rongomao, the celebration. July 11th is the date that we're supposed to do it. And I need to start passing the hat, because they want me to come, but they can't cover my airfare. So afterwards we'll pass the hat. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Oh, what am I doing now? Sorry for that.
Look at all the movie stars.
That's when they dedicated it during the Haile Hoike, yeah. That's shipping the bell.
That's Henry.
Henry and Reverend Bensis Henry was also on our committee. Now I wanted to not only talk about the good stuff, but the serious stuff too. This is a chart that the the state of Hawaii did last year, okay? This is a chart, and it's, they have a whole study on this, but this is the per capita income by race group. The state of Hawaii can't even get it straight, so they don't know it's a Micronesian. They have Marshallese here, yeah? It's Micronesian. So this is the per capita income by race according to the state of Hawaii. 5,963 per Micronesian, yeah? Now, if we look at the native Hawaiian here, it's 20,664, and this is the total population median right here, you know? So just to put it into perspective of some of the problems that Micronesians are facing as they come to Hawaii, yeah? We also know if we go by the homeless count, the number one homeless are Native Hawaiians, and it shouldn't be, you know. Number two are Caucasians. Number three are Micronesian, you know. A recent group, but number three on the homeless list. So they are facing with a multitude of problems, and that's one of the reasons that we want to bring the church's resources together, you know, to look at the problems and work at it jointly.
Can I make a couple corrections for you?
Okay.
I worked with Micronesians for the last 40 years.
Yeah.
Your total population of Marshallese it's around 20,000. That number there that says, what, 5,000? That should be at least 20.
This is per capita.
Money.
Per capita.
If you have
Per
family,
capita, oh, I'm
it's
sorry.
different.
Money.
There's another one that was family, which is closer to what you say. It's another chart, but I took the per capita chart.
Oh, per
And this
capita.
is from their chart. Now, you know, if If
I
they
would-
made the mistake,
I
it's not
would
me.
really question those figures.
Yeah, okay,
Cause I work with them every day.
okay.
Many of the Kushians are working and they earning $20,000 to $30,000 a year.
Now, the last one I have is a two-part thing. So we began to try and identify how many Micronesian congregations are here in Hawaii. So we've identified 43 related to the Micronesian Council, United Church of Christ, our partnership body in Micronesia. Yeah. So these, I have one more page for the Chukis, and they are the largest number, as Reverend Saleh and Katsushi can tell you. But these are the ones we've identified, 43. Now I'm guessing that there are another 25 that are also from congregational roots that are not part of MCUCC related. But if we include them together, they'd be 68, filled with young people, right?
Yeah.
Our Hawaii Conference is 130 churches now. If we get all 68 into the conference, we'd probably get 1/3 more membership into the whole conference, at least. And in terms of future, they get filled with young children. So I think we need to, think about that as well. Right? So these are the Chukis churches that we've identified. Big Reverend Saleh to help us fill in all of the contact names and names of churches, email, telephone numbers, and that, so that we can really reach out to them. We sent out the letter, but we didn't know all of them. We're trying to gather all of them, and I'll have other people talk about different aspects, but at least let me stop there. I also wanted to give time to the other members of the committee. Maybe Katsushi can start off, and then other members share. Yeah, so thank you very much. You share.
Ron,
Yes.
in one of those printouts, I saw that the people that went to Micronesia, that the Hawaiian names listed when you were talking about Aya. And I saw Pae'aina Makuli, and that's blood families, and there were several names on there that we still have the next generation still functioning within the church.
Yeah, help
and
us
it's nice.
share this information back with the families. Just recently, we've been working with the DLNR person on Kauai, on Big Island, yeah. And actually, he's a Christian. He and his wife sing praise songs, and he's in charge of making sure that the turtles are not harvested. Right? It's illegal, but Micronesians do it in Micronesia. So he came to Micronesians United, and we helped translate it into 4 Micronesian languages. Now we found out at one of the meetings that he's related to Opunui. Yeah? And so now it's not my job and them Micronesians, but my family Opunui went to Kosrae, So in Kosrae they have the graveyard, but there's no tombstone. So we're saying, can we dream that we're gonna someday build a tombstone for Opunui and go back to Kosrae and place, with the help of Nix and Jack, get it there. So that's what we're hoping, to build those ties that we've lost contact with, and show that they're not strangers.
Yeah, that's just it.
So
The theme is we're no strangers.
That's right,
And
that's
that
right.
really
Thank you, thank you.
substantiates that.
Sorry, Katsushi.
Thank you. It's an honor for me to be here, and I'm glad to stand here to share my own experience, or whatever I have known throughout times, that regarding the churches and their activities in CHUCC. And as I came back here, as I come here, I also involved in the ministry especially we are trying to organize the churches that we can, address certain issues that have faced our own people here. But briefly, I came here in the 70s to study at the University of Hawaii in Hilo, and I also graduated in the 70s, but I don't know whether I'm gonna tell you the year I graduated, because you're gonna figure out how old I am. Anyway, thank you. So here, as Ron said, I'm also trying to pursue a theological study at Vancouver's School of Theology. So I'm hoping that whatever the requirements will be completed. And yeah, I have my tutor, Pastor Neil McPherson. He's a good one. And I have met so many people who have, expressed interest in helping Micronesians, trying to establish themselves here, not only as far as the church is concerned or work of the church, but also work in the community, looking for employment and also for further their education. Anyway, what I know about the history of the church in Chuk. Chuk was evangelized, of course, by the work of the missionaries that come from the what do you call the
American Board of Missions?
American Board of Commissioners. But then, as the Pohnpei, the people in Pohnpei, or they established churches in Pohnpei, so the Pohnpei, certain group of Pohnpeians, they were sent to Chuk to evangelize Chuk. So it came from, they started from my region, the Mortlock Islands. So they, something like they hop from one island and all the way to every single island in the Mortlocks. So what I know about my island, that the chief was on another island in the Mortlocks while the missionaries were there, and he invited them. You take that message, or you come to my island. So then we all know that the good Lord has paved the way for the missionaries, and they came to my island, and the chief who invited them, he gave them a big piece of land. He said that this land is going to be something like an offering. I donate to your ministry. So that church was established, and on another island, while another missionary was doing his study under his mosquito net, and he turned on whatever the lamp, and there was a man from another island in the Chuk Lagoon who was there, a chief, and he was so amazed how there was fire, but the what do you call that, mosquito net, or in the house, it was not burned down. So he approached the missionary and he said, "What is that?" And the missionary said, "Oh, this is my like lamb, but he said lamb means, you know, like this is my faith or this is my religion. So he started explaining, or you know, teach the man. So he was very interested, and we all know that that is how the Spirit has worked in the heart of that man. So he invited the missionary, why don't you come and, you know, bring your message to my island? So the next time the morning star came, so the missionary went to the island in the HCUCC, if I'm not mistaken. I stand to be corrected, but anyway, that's how that message came into the HCUCC in 1879. If I'm not mistaken, it's on December 12, 1879. And December 19, 1879. And the man who invited the missionary was on that boat. So while the boat was approaching, or Morning Star was approaching, you know, the whole island was ready to, you know, fight, you know, the people who came ashore. But as they look out at the skiff, they saw that man, and that man's name was our fellow. So they say, hey, that's the guy. Why is with those strange people? You know, the like full clothed people. You know. So they kind of look strange to them, but you know, as the they went ashore, so that man talked to the people. Let's save these people, and you know, we're gonna listen to their message. So they were accepted, and they lived there. And the next, maybe a couple days later, that man, our friend, you know, he took the missionaries to his property, and he also showed them from this side to that side, this piece of land is going to be yours for your ministry. And from there, the whole island was, you know, involved in the work of the gospel. And from there, it also spread out to the islands in the HCUCC. And Pastor Jonathan Sale is also well versed on the history of the church in HCUCC. But here, I would say that we are no, I mean, we have that connection, you know, to the work of the missionaries that came down from here. And we are coming back to Hawaii, you know, so we feel that we are also member of this community as well. And yeah, here we are trying to, we face so many challenges, and we are hoping that in due time we will be just like, you know, other members of the community or other ethnic groups who are part of the whole society. So I'll be ready if anybody asks a question, if I can, and that's also Jonathan Saleh, pastor, our president of the Chukis Association here. He can also help. But maybe if I can go further, I will ask Pastor Saleh if he want to share something, add up something, or correct something I have said.
Thank you so much. Can I just sit here because
Yeah.
I would be
Sorry.
yeah. Shaky.
Please.
So I would like to speak and he is right. And in Chuk Lagoon, so many islands. And when they heard about the Morning Star, and they started to craft that ship with the missionaries on the ship. So that's why there are also history that will be different. The one that they say that came from Bombay, or Median, or East, and came to Mutlaks, as he mentioned, came to Lagoon. And that man orphaned from one of the island named Uman. And Uman among the islands in the Lagoon who received the gospel first. And then from Uman, they say that he went to Wana, Anabogo. I think name of missionary or who is this Anabogo? Then from Wana to the small island Fala. Then from Fala to Tonoas, Tonoas to my island. And that's the first story. But the other story they say one of the men from my island, they told that he is brave, short, skinny, and he is brave. He was the one who took the Morning Star from Uman to Feven, not from Uman to Wana. And then that's why on Feven, my island, they also offer a big piece of land, and they offer to the mission. So the land is still there, and whoever come to Feven, they will show you, this is your land. So the word that I heard today is no stranger. I think that's what I can see. But another thing, they changed the name of that man, orphanage. They changed to Bob, because they see that he's taking the good news to woman, and they changed his name to Bob, like the Apostle Paul.
How many churches in Chuk?
Pardon?
How many Christian churches in Chuk?
There are usually there are two organizations in Chuk. One is under the leadership of the missionary United Church, or what was the first name?
ABCFM.
Yeah, and one is from the Evangelical Church of Christ from the Germany. And there are the other part of Chuk. Yes. But now, as of today, there are many organizations.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm sorry we don't have too much time, but thank you. Now, what Katsushi can share much more because he's related to Ofunu, yeah. So he's not saying all of that, yeah. But I just wanted to know there's a rich history that we're trying to get on record so that we can share more. And so please share the stories with us. I really wanted Nixon to say something because we didn't have a Kosrayan representative in the MCUCC delegation that came, and Nixon is, a member in discernment of this conference, will be given a scholarship to go to General Synod. So we expect a lot of things from Nixon and his bringing the other Kosrayans into our covenantal relations. And Nixon, you wanna share a little bit? I know.
Aloha everybody. Pae'aina Gawos. Let's go shine. Same like aloha. And I have Pastor Shu from Maui, Koshayan, and Yuli. You all, most of you folks know Yuli. And thanks the President for the Koshayan Pastoral, HCUCC and Pastor. And few more people I want to thank. Ron has been tremendously helping the Koshayan or the Micronesian. Started the United Micronesian United. Bring in all the people, because back home we don't have traffic light, so they tell us that you must stop. But yellow means hurry up. Also, I want to tell Kau, Brian, helping the Marshallese on the Big Island, and of course, Eric Anderson. He's a little shorter than Kau, Brian. Okay, let's see, where should I start? They talk about Morning Star. Set sail in 1852, I believe. All the way, almost landed in on the Marshall Island. Somehow got drifted in a little bit more to Koshai. So the mission started there, ABC. And you see some of the old people, and the grand of those missionaries are, God is still speaking, is Lauren Materis, Lauren Materis. So we've been growing, like they said, I came since, or spent 40 plus years on the island. Married a local girl from Miloli. And then came to Hawaii Job Corps in '76, and went to college, University of Hawaii, Hilo, and worked illegally for the plantation in Pahala. At that time, we still get that green card, but they really needed some welders to do the processing plant for them. So they put me under the rock, and because my name is Nixon Jack, they thought I was one howling. So they put me there because I had the lowest bongo. Bongo is the number that the union give it to you. So union means to protect lazy people. Sorry about that. I didn't really mean that. Well, God's been at his purpose. I went to Seattle, Washington for a short while. I lost my knee on my job working for Crowfroll White. And then the calling came to me to come and pastor for Koshayan in Hilo, under the umbrella of First United Protestant Church. And I do some internship there. And like they mentioned that I'm in the ministry in discernment, and will be representing the conference to Milwaukee. And Wisconsin. So anyway, that's exciting calling, and hoping that when I return, probably I can be just like HCUCC, to be minister or a licensed or ordained pastor for Hawaii. So I see that there's a bridge gap in there for the Micronesian, and I really like the topic here. We're not strangers, because we are all in one in God's hand. And you guys know that the Hawaiian help us out, and the American help us out. I don't care if you got your hand, the color will still come out bloody red. We are all God's children, and I'm thankful for this presentation today. We are getting closer to be one and help out one another, because that's what God liked the most. Love one another. Amen. Thank you very much.
Since Mickey and Ned came all the way from Pohnpei, I gotta give him time on the schedule to give his
Hello again. Kasilelia. Before I proceed, to join my colleagues, Ron and the others. Let me join each and every one of us who already offer his thanksgiving. Thanks to our Heavenly Father for his abundant blessing, giving us life, giving us time, giving us money. I wanted to just reiterate what Kao Ron just mentioned or just presented. We are no strangers. You should be proud of us because you're the one who brought the gospel to us. And the product of you, here we are, on your shore. And you're kind of ignoring us. You don't want to give us a place to worship. So we worship in the park, the police come and chase us.
Wow.
We worship on the beach, they come and chase us. Because when the kids come and play, and they, hey, shut up, we're worshiping. And they cry and go to tell their parents, the parents call police, police came and chased us. Anyway, I am the president. You can address me, His Excellency. Don't laugh. This is American address. Huh? Anyway, my term as a president, I was elected last year in Kusai, in the General Assembly of Micronesian Council of Churches or Church Council, United Church of Christ. And my term will be 2 years. Next year, the General Assembly of Micronesian Council of Churches or Micronesian Churches will be held in Bombay. I invite you all, and this is an official invitation. Please come, and you will taste the Bombay, not Chukis, not Kusai, Marshallese, but the Bombay, where the capital of the seat of the Federated State of Micronesia is situated. Because Bombay has a lot of public land. Kusai no public land, Chuk no public land, only Kusai, Bombay. So I'm proud to be a Bombayan. No, we're all together. So please, we are no strangers. We are your products, right?
Yeah.
One thing I want to say, that Miss Palmer buried next to my church in Hoa School. His grave, or whatever, grave, huh? Grave? Yeah. So we, the Church Council of Bombay, which I am the conference minister, I presented a resolution that they authorize a dedicated day for our women association to be dedicated to Miss Palmer. And this day they celebrated and they pray. They call prayer day for Miss Palmer. So isn't that enough to be a relationship or no stranger to you? Please. If we're stranger to you, up there we're not stranger. We're all one family. So thank you for this opportunity. And thank you, Ron. Takwali was in Bombay when I was running around with the, what do you call it? Very small, very small. Sarmata, So there is a house, his house, still there. We're maintaining it because we're running our school. And we're asking you to please donate to our school because our school was the school in early 50s, 1950s, that trained up the Micronesian leaders from from Marshall all the way to Palau. So we want to maintain, we want to keep that school running because that's a legacy. Huh?
Legacy, great.
Yeah. So thank you again for inviting me, no, not you, Gabriel was the one who invited me. And tomorrow you're going to vote for your new conference minister. And I'll be there to personally invite him to come to Bombay in September. Eric Duncan is also coming. And representative, the officers of Micronesian Council of Churches from Marshall, from Chuk, from Kusai, and I am His Excellency or whatever.
Boss.
I am hosting or I am bringing them together to work on our agenda for the General Assembly next year. So in that agenda, I'll make sure that there is feast, party, all the day, all the week. Okay, thank you.
We've run out of time. We have 1 more minute left, but I just wanted to end up with having Drenny share something. I know there are a lot of more stories in here, and we want you to help us write that history so we can share it with everyone. But I'm thank you for coming. I just wanted Josanne works at the mission house, and she has access to all of the files that the Hawaiian missionaries wrote back, and she's here, so we want to thank her for being here too. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Fast announcements. One is that we can continue the story. If you go on Facebook, the Hawaii PAAM group page is very active with people sharing stories and things that are happening. So please just look us up. It's an open group. Join. We're trying to reignite Hawaii PAAM itself. I teach at a college, but I'm very much connected with a lot of the educators now. And we're really happy that this just came out this week. This is the Indigenous Literatures of Micronesia. And I have 15 copies of the book with me. It's going to sell for $30. There's no Kindle version of it. I have it on sale for $20. That includes the tax. Yeah. So, but this includes writings from all over. It's just really incredible. And I think this is the voices of. We're going to actually feature it on the Hawaii PAAM State Facebook page. You're going to have young people reading out loud the poetry and the stories and everything on there. And the last thing I wanted to say is that there's another workshop after this, and some of you may be going to it, and that's the Cohen Trust. And the Cohen Trust has a lot to do with the missionaries. And we don't know what's happening. I'm not going to be able to go to that workshop, but if you're there, please ask the question, because I really hope that it does still help the Micronesians that are here with us. They're not strangers. And the last thing was what you were saying about the beaches and the parks. We understand that next year the state of Hawaii will have a new law that will not allow worship in the parks. And so many of our Micronesian congregations are in the parks, and we really are hoping that our churches will help them. And we're not looking for landlord-renter type of relationships. We're really looking for the being family and ohana partnerships.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to close us in prayer?
Well, Rennie, may I say something real quick?
Sure.
My cup runneth over when I think about all your presentations, because as a child, we were always taught to save our pennies for the cent a meal because it's going to go to Micronesian. And we faithfully, all the children put their little pennies in these boxes, and it was sent over. And to hear you have validated our gift.
Thank you, Jesus.
From
Thank you.
way back when. And I remember one time I was so arrogant, and I threw my penny in the California grass, and I was the subject of the next sermon. The grass grew, but I never found a penny. So the next time I had to give dollars. And here you are, and I thank God for that.
Let us pray in closing of our workshop. I ask that everyone join me. Our Heavenly Father, we don't have nothing. We don't have anything. But because of your love and your grace, mercy upon us, here we are, praising you and thanking you for this wonderful opportunity, fellowshipping and sharing our experience with your gospel or the good news. Before the good news arrived or landed in Bombay or Micronesia, we used to kill one another because we don't have light, we don't see the light. But because of your good news or the gospel, we began to respect each and one another. We thank King Kamehameha for sending his people into our island, bringing the letter to our chief, George in Kusai, Hadley in Bombay, and back to Marshall. Trained Bombayan family named Moses, brought gospel to Chuk. With all this, we fail. Words have failed us to thank you, Lord. But you know what we have in our hearts. We will continue praise you because this is what we can do. Keep praising you and thanking you. We place everything in the able hands of God. We ask all this in precious name of the Lord, the Savior Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
I had a sign up list going around too.
No, I know. Well, I can.